looking at our numbers, and we saw that we were getting 30, 40 members a month, but we were also losing 30, 40 members a month. This is a problem.
So a lot of people don't measure their retention at their gyms, and that could be a big problem. Everybody's chasing, how do I get more members? How do I get more leads? And I can't tell you how many gyms we've sat down with that's actually not their biggest challenge. They're constantly replacing their members as opposed to stacking them. And if they can actually measure the amount of members that they retain on a monthly basis, well, they'll learn that they don't have to sell so much, because it doesn't take much to outsell maybe 5 or 6 members lost. But when you're losing 15, 20, 25, well, your sales game, has to be constantly great. And it's exhausting. And you hit plateau much faster at your business when you have a high attrition, because that's the number that you have to outsell in order to grow. So today we're going to be talking about how to increase retention at your gym, or how to lower attrition, which is the opposite. So we're going to talk about that. And with me are actual co-hosts, and we've got Rich and Jade from Crown Boxing visiting from LA. What's up, guys? How you doing?
We're doing great.
Good.
So let's dive in, because the reason you're guests on the show is because you're a perfect example of what we see. I would say more than 9 out of 10. I'd probably say like 29 out of 30 times, which is people think that their biggest issue is I need more leads or I need more members. But then once they start measuring the things that they need to measure in their business, they realize like, it's actually retention is our number one focus. And that's kind of what happened with you guys, right? You want to dive into that a little bit?
It all started in the first GSD con back in November. And, we were there running through the strategic plan. We were doing an exercise, and we were running through everything, and we saw that our attrition was really high. And you actually came up to us and you're like, yeah, that's 20%. That's what you guys got to focus on. So that should be our primary focus.
And so then what happened from there? So you guys switched focus from that point?
Yeah. So we switched our focus to focusing and going hard on attrition.
Okay. Yeah. And so what you learned at 20%, and we did the formula for it. And so for all of you guys too, when you take the number one and you divide it by your attrition percentage, that'll tell you how long your members are staying on average with your business, as long as you sustain that same attrition percentage. And to also just to determine what your attrition percentage is, you just take the number of people that you lost and divide it by the amount of members that you have. So if you have 100 members and you lost 10 that month, you had a 10% attrition. Okay, so we know that's our attrition percentage. Great. So now if we take the number one and we divide it by 10%, use your calculator, you'll get 10, which means on average, as long as you keep retaining people for 90% every month, you'll retain every member on average for 10 months. Now you guys were at 20%, which means when you take that number one divided by 20%, you remember how many months you're retaining them for?
Yeah, I think it's only 5 months.
5 months, which means every year you're basically churning a whole new member base, right? And so when we looked at that, we said, what if we can get that down to, I think we said like 12 or 10, and you got it down to how low? 4. You got it down to 4%. Now with 4%, you're not hanging on to people for 5 months. You're hanging on to people for 25 months, right?
Yeah.
It's a big difference. 5 times better. So whatever your members were paying you in your monthly payments, instead of getting 5 of those payments, you're getting 25 of those payments. Big deal, right? So I'd like to talk with you about some of the things that you've had to make, some of the changes you've had to make in order to really be able to get that attrition that low. So where did you guys start? What did that meeting look like?
We're the type of people that likes to ask a lot of questions, and we also have a really great support group. There's about 5 or 6 people that we can confide in based off of, their skill sets, their expertises. So one of our really good friends, consultant, also mentor of mine, his name is Edwin Ohanian. He shared something with me called the OODA loop. And the OODA loop is an acronym that a lot of military personnel use in combat. And he shared this concept with me and applied it toward business, right? So the OODA loop is an acronym, OODA. Okay. First one is observe. Second one is orient. The third letter is decide. Fourth letter is act, A. So the first one, observation, right? First thing that we did, we wanted to see where we were, 20%, right? Second, orient. We had to see where we were within the business, right? So the first thing that we did was send out a survey to everybody that has canceled their memberships as well as everybody that is currently working with us, right? So the questions we had in the survey was, what's the reason for leaving? How's your experience here at the gym? Do you like the classes? Are the communications clear with the coaches? Are the classes boring or mundane? Things of that nature. And then from there, we got as much information as we could get. And then we started to navigate based off of that.
What are some things that you learned? Like, why were people saying they were leaving?
We would get a lot of generic things like moving or school or can't afford it.
Okay.
But the things that really stuck out to us the most was classes, right? Classes were too repetitive. So being a boxing fitness gym, we had a lot of classes that were pretty much the same throughout the entire day. And each class would just be, around the idea of boxing and learning how to box. So once we realized that all these classes were pretty similar throughout the day, then we started switching things up. So we started doing HIIT classes. We started doing strength and conditioning classes, a boxing technique class, an advanced class based off of, boxing fundamentals. And then we also have kids classes, ladies classes. So we started mixing it up.
Now, with the HIIT and the strength classes, was there somehow boxing weaved into that?
Yeah, so the way our verbiage is about boxing, right? So for our heavy weights class, which is a strength and conditioning class, we pretty much tell all of our members that this class is a functional fitness class based off of a boxer's strength and conditioning program.
That's cool. And then same thing for HIIT?
Yeah, so HIIT is actually called our hitters class, which is a high intensity interval training class mixed with hitting.
Okay.
So there is some boxing in there, but the pace is really fast.
And how do you think that's made a difference? What kind of feedback have you gotten from that?
So we also got another feedback loop right after that. So after probably 2 weeks of integrating a new workout schedule, we started asking people questions about how they liked it. And all we heard was positive reviews.
Do you know why they actually continue to like the new stuff? It's because it was new stuff. So if you think about like the average car, the Ford, F-150, that Ford F-150 is different a little bit every year. If it was the same thing since 1995, people would be bored of it and they just get a different car. Same thing with phones, same thing with laptops and computers and all that stuff. There's got to feel some people like new. That's what people like. There's actually I don't know if they're still around, but there's a group out here called OTG. It stands for Old Town Group. And all they did, they might still do it, is they would take nightclubs, all right here, there's nightclubs everywhere. And they would take nightclubs and every 4, 5, 6 years or whatever, they would close them down and open up new ones. They didn't go out of business. They were still fine. Some of them were peaking and they would turn them and make them another club. Why? Because people want a new experience. They have to have new. And if they're not going to get new here, they're going to get new there. And so when you can constantly innovate, which that is what's important for business. So employees that are watching, it's super important that you guys free up the owner as much as you can from operations, because the owner, the entrepreneur, that's usually it's that person's job to innovate. But if the innovator is operating too often, they don't have the time or the energy to innovate. And at some point, it's going to be repetitive. And then that's when your customers get exhausted. So what you guys did was you created something new for them. And what you created was great, right? Like they like it. But every year, there's going to have to be some type of new in some fashion in order for them to feel that feeling of new without having to go get it somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Right.
I think in relationships it has to be like that too. Like, traveling to new places together and just experiencing new things, getting new hobbies. Because at some point, you have to keep doing that together, growing together. Okay, so that was one thing that you did. You created new and you listened to what they said. So the new was hearing your members and then adding things like that. What else did you do to improve retention?
So we've always had the in-body composition. Now, if you don't know what the in-body composition is, it is a device that you stand on that calibrates your water retention, muscle mass, body fat. And we usually use that in-body machine just for personal training. So we did not understand how to integrate that into our operation process with our members. So throughout gathering information from all of our power calls and speaking with other people, we've gathered that the in-body composition is used for their members, right? So now we're creating a customized experience using the baseline measurements of our members. So the second they sign up, we get them on the in-body composition, and then we show them, hey, this is where you're at. This is how much muscle you have. This is how much body fat you have. This is what's recommended. This is what's going on with, the fat that's around your organs. We should fix this, address this, and then we'll check again in 2 weeks. And then we just constantly keep getting them on a 2 to 3 week check-in.
I love it. Now, what have you noticed from that? The people that are every 2 weeks, some people are progressing, some people are not, or some people progress not every time, but they progress sometimes. What are you seeing from that, from the members? Are they excited about it? Or do you look forward to measurement day?
They do look forward to it, which is great. Another thing, too, is that they're excited to see their progression, especially if they've been coming in 3 to 4 times. They're on the right track with their workouts, as well as on the right track with their eating habits, too. And we'll give them little bits and pieces, too. Like, for a perfect example, hey, maybe if you're eating late, maybe you should not eat late. And probably stop eating at 9 o'clock. Or like little snackings here and there throughout the day.
Yeah, very few things are productive after 9 p.m.
Yes, absolutely. And just, being conscious of what you're eating and putting into your body. So once that week 2 comes, they're so excited to see their results. Some people, now we're at a time where there's some people getting sick. So when they reach their 2 week, they're like, oh, I went up in body fat and I lost my muscle mass. And we'll ask, well, why? What happened? They'll say, well, I wasn't here for a week. We're like, that's right. What happened? And then they'll, of course, let us know, oh, I was sick. We're like, well, that's probably why. And that's okay, because guess what? We're starting fresh again. We're just going to keep on going and building from there.
So there's 2 things that help with retention in what you just said. So the first one was the data. It's not necessarily about the data itself, just like with the other example. With this one, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Stoicism, so many philosophies talk about happiness and progress being tied together. Where there's happiness, there's progress. Where there's progress, there's happiness. And when there's lack of progress or stagnation, there actually is the opposite, right? Happiness is missing. So with what you're doing, every single 2 weeks, when you're showing them progress, there's happiness that's attached to you, right? This place, I feel progress. I may not feel it anywhere else. Remember, the average person, what else are they doing, right? They're probably not in sports like they used to be. They're probably not learning instruments like they used to when they were younger, if they were doing that. So they're not feeling that same progress, except for one place, crown boxing. They're feeling progress. Now, the other thing that you're doing is those times that they don't feel progress, you're giving them something to point to that's not them and not you. It's something that happened and something that we understand. So if, let's say, they went 5 months, and then after 5 months, they're like, I don't think I've seen any results. Well, now they start pointing, is it me? Is it this place? But in this case, when we're measuring every 2 weeks, hey, we really didn't see so much movement here. What are some reasons for that? What are some things where you fell off? Well, I definitely ate like crap 4 days in a row because we had family in town. We went out to eat every day. Or I didn't come in for like a week. I was sick. Okay, so we understand why. Yes. All right, well, that happens. That's easy. So do we have anything like that coming up in the next 2 weeks? No, next 2 weeks are going to be great. Perfect. So now you're helping them point to a thing they're not the problem. You're not the problem. It's this one thing that we got to talk about, nail down together, put it aside. We're good moving forward. So I love that. All right, cool. So 2 things that you did now. You had the progress tracking, and then you created something new. Anything else that you guys did to really improve retention?
Yeah, so because we're also a boxing fitness gym, we also teach the fundamentals of boxing. So one of the first things that we get them to do is Shadowbox, and we record a little snippet, 5-10 second snippet of them throwing punches, and then that's something that we review in 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so what does that look like, Jade?
Oh my gosh. Seeing from them just starting off, not knowing anything, and then 3-4 weeks later, we see massive progress to just their stance, just the way they punch is phenomenal. I mean, it's funny because Rich and I were actually just talking about this yesterday. We actually had a competition yesterday, and one of the members who started from nothing, and he's been with us for almost a year now, he won, I think, his second fight, right? Which was awesome. And just to see him in there competing and seeing him just, use his footwork, move around his opponent, and like just be able to punch and just like get him away, it was honestly phenomenal. And that was honestly from us. He learned all of that from us, which was beautiful.
That is so cool. See, a lot of people don't realize that. Many think that marketing is about generating leads and sales about closing leads, but it's not that. Retention is a part of marketing. And marketing is most successful when there's a feeling, where you're able to create a feeling in someone. And when you guys do that, they're able to see like, oh my gosh, look how I was, look, I am. Oh my gosh, it's great. That feeling, that is marketing. You're retaining that member longer. Marketing's job is one thing: increase revenue. You can only increase revenue one of three ways. You guys remember the three ways?
Dollar per member.
Increase the revenue per member.
Increase revenue per member. More members.
Get more members.
The attrition apart.
Yep. Keep them longer. So marketing's job is increase revenue one of these three ways. So when you found a way to reduce attrition from 20% to 5%, was that a hell of a job in marketing? Absolutely. And you did it by creating feelings of progress, of accountability, and also by giving them something new. That's all marketing. That's product development. It's funny, I was talking to a former marketing director about like a year and a half ago about this when we were at an event. And we were at an event for this company that's got like a $2 billion valuation right now. So they've grown drastically. And when we were there, I was talking to them about marketing. The product is the most important part in a marketer's like decision-making process. Like everything's about the product. And I was getting a little bit of pushback on it, but she was young in the role. It was her first year in the role. So I didn't learn that until 5-6 years. So I get it. And so we saw the VP of marketing there, again, of this massive company that's growing incredibly fast. And so I asked him, I said, hey, out of curiosity, where do you spend most of your time as the head of marketing here? Where do you spend most of your time? He goes, product. It's all in product. 90% in product. He said, if the product is great, the advertising doesn't have to work so hard because the word's going to get out and people will stay and people will upgrade. And that's just what's going to happen. I'm going to refer people. And if the advertising doesn't have to work so hard, or the sales doesn't have to work so hard, like there's not a line out you don't have salespeople outside of Apple when a new phone comes out, convincing people to buy a new phone, tying it to their why, understanding their pain points. No, like there's no real skilled salespeople at Apple at like the consumer level, right? You just go ahead and get in line and you buy it. And there's not really a ton of great marketing where it's like an offer. Buy one phone, get a second for 30% off. It's none of that either. It's the product. There's an expectation for the product. And, non-Apple people are like, there's really no innovation for Apple. You can say that all you want, but like the lines are still there, right? The lines are still there. So the expectation, or at least the perceived innovation, absolutely exists. All right. What about with the tracking? Did you guys do anything with how you look at the numbers, how often you look at the numbers, certain metrics that maybe you measure now that you didn't measure before, like leading indicators, anything like that?
I mean, we look at the numbers almost every single day, honestly, and tracking and seeing, what's going on within not just even just our member base, but more so looking deeply into our classes. How many people do we have in our classes? And then letting our coaches know, hey, maybe we don't have as many people in these classes. Maybe it's time to start doing some reach outs, even pre-booking. Something that we've recently done that has been helping tremendously is right before a class ends, a coach will be like, hey, when am I going to see you next? All right, cool. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Perfect. Hey, Jade, go ahead and book this person for the next class. And from there, it's just a domino effect. And for sure, once we hold them to that accountability and say that they're coming in, they're definitely coming in the next day.
I love it. Now, obviously, I don't have a barber now, right? This is a one-man job. I just do this in the shower. It's no problem. But there was a point where I did go to a barber every single week. And when I went to the barber, it was this guy I used for 7-8 years, which you probably know. Once you find your barber, that's your guy, right? So he was my guy. And he was saying how it was slow. And I said, you've been around for years. You probably have thousands of customers. He goes, oh, yeah, we have 2,000 people that will serve, but like it's a little slow. I go, look, man, why don't you just get everyone on a schedule. Like every time I go, they just say, bye, we'll see you next time. I go, why don't you just get everybody on a schedule? And he's like, oh, they don't like that. And I go, it's not, what do you mean they don't like that? Yes, they do. You know how many times I wish I got my haircut and I forgot, but now I got this thing I got to go to tonight and now it's too late and I can't rush around. I can, like, help me not think. And so I said, look, all you got to do is when you take their payment, just say, hey, let's get you scheduled for your next one. When do you want to come in next? Maybe some people don't schedule. Maybe some people are like, oh, I'll just come when I'm ready. Fine. But the people that would do it, those are locked in. Hit just by doing that, just by doing what you're doing, scheduling the next one at the end of the last one, just by doing that, he was booked solid for like months after that. I mean, I stopped going to him shortly after. So he lost me as a customer because of genetics. But the point is, like, booking the next one is actually a favor. You're taking away the thinking. We've got to remember too, like, for you guys, me, a lot of the people that are tuning in, watching, we work our life around our workouts. So you probably already thought, like, are we working out tomorrow? Are we going to work out in Arizona? Are we going to work out in LA before we leave? Are we just taking an off day? Maybe we work out the next. You guys probably had that conversation or thought about it, right? I do too. Like, I already know I'm working out at 6 o'clock tonight when I get home with my wife. I already know. I thought about it. My meals are worked around it. That's not normal. That's not how 97% of Americans are, which is why the country's in the state that it's in. So they just forget. And the next thing you know, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they're like, oh, I didn't work out. That's what's normal. By you guys taking that off of their plate and putting it in, you're creating the habit of them having that scheduled in and their life working around it.
Yes.
Another thing that not only helps you guys, but it helps them as well.
Yes.
When you say you look at the numbers almost daily now, what was that like, let's say September of last year?
Honestly, September and August, even October more so, we were just on that hamster wheel and not really paying attention to the numbers and just looking at the numbers as a number. So there was no strategy, there was no process behind it. So we were just kind of looking as we were going.
Yeah, so we knew it was a problem. We just didn't know how to address it, right? So one of our busier months were June, July. You know, everybody got out of school, everybody started training. Summer's here, I need to get in shape. And we were looking at our numbers, and we saw that we were getting 30, 40 members a month, but we were also losing 30, 40 members a month. So we're like, okay, this is a problem.
That's plateau.
Yeah, this is a problem. So how do we fix this? And we just thought getting more members was going to be the solution.
Got it. Because if I could sell 40 or 50, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, how many members do you have?
About 165.
165. And how many are you losing? What's 4% of that? Like 7?
If that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus or minus, yeah.
That's a big deal. So now we're growing because we're still selling 20, 30 plus members, right? But now we're not having to replace, we're stacking on top.
Yes.
Very cool. And so now you guys are switching your main focus, I believe, in the second quarter, right? So for everybody watching, listening, one of the things that we teach at Loud Rumor, and so you guys are getting free training on this right now. You're welcome, by the way. We teach that there's 4 main objectives that anybody could be in. And so your main objective was to increase revenue, which is a very common one. It's like 80, 90% of people, right, in business. Okay, cool. So increase revenue is your objective. Well, increase revenue, we said there's 3 ways to get there: more members, more revenue per members, or being able to keep them longer. So we say, hey, which one of these is the most impactful? Now, for you guys, the most impactful one would be getting that 20% down, right? You got it to 4. Now you've created 2 months in a row where you're able to keep it at that level. And what was that, January and February? And March about the same. So now we've got a system, and is our team dialed in on that system so they can sustain it without you having to lead it? Excellent. So now that we've got that, that's knocked down. Now we can switch focus. So now the next focus is either going to be more revenue per member, which means increasing pricing or advancing people up to the 2nd or 3rd tier. So if you got a lot of people in a 1 time a week, taking them to 2 or 3, or it could be ancillary sales, supplements, retail, stuff like that. So that's one, either increase revenue per member or get more members. And you guys decided it was get more members is the next one. So, and have you guys already done your quarterly meeting to like plan and create that 1-page plan for that second quarter, or not yet? Is it coming up?
It's coming up.
Cool. So once you guys do that, you'll build out your 1-page plan. And then from there, we're going to say, okay, great. Like, what are all the different ways that we can get more members? I like to do a brain dump. So go like, here's all the different ways we get new members. You'll probably find 20 or 30 of them. There's a lot, right? Especially if you go through the portal and everything. There's a lot of ways to get new members. And then from there, you say, okay, I want to rank them by impact and speed. So for me, speed is which one can I have like in the next hour? Like which one of these could I do in the next hour? For example, send a mass email to everyone in your database, a 9-word email that gets people to respond back, and then we can create a conversation, right? That could be done in like 20 minutes, right? Then there's another one that maybe take a little longer. Promotion for Mother's Day, right? We're only in April, Mother's Day is in May, so that may be a long-term play. So you go, okay, cool. Let's rank these in order from impact. So this one I could do right, or speed. This one I could do right away. Boom, boom, boom. 1 through however many you have. They're ranked in order of speed. The next one's impact. So out of all these, if they were all working at 100% level, which one of these would have the highest impact working at 100%? So you rank those. Now what you do is you add the sum up between the 2 columns, and then the one with the lowest number wins, right? Because it's the fastest with highest impact. And then, so now we go, okay, how can I get these 2 or these 3 working, as quickly as possible? So that's the next step. Have you guys already kind of thought through some tactics that you're going to do to get more members?
Yeah, we have. So, a couple ones that, right off the top of our head would be social media, ads, reaching out to a lot of former members that pause their membership or cancel their membership. By the way,
20%, that is a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you guys have been around for how long?
Almost 3 years.
So 3 years, you probably have close to 400 to 600 people that have come in and out.
Maybe actually more, because before we inherited the business, there was about 2,000 leads from that business. So we had those in addition to their canceled members.
So let's say 2,000, if you can get a 99% rejection rate or ignore rate, right? 1% of 2,000, what is that? Is it 20?
Yeah.
20 sales, right?
Yeah.
That's 20 sales that you might be able to get just in an email or re-engagement email, right? Pretty cool. Or a re-engagement text or a series of them. By the way, the emails, a cool strategy. This is a whole different episode topic, but we'll dive into it for a second. When you send out an email, don't just send out the one email. So you send out the email with the subject line and the body, and you send it out to half the list. You send out another email with the same body, but a different subject line. And then you see which one does the best. Whichever one does the best, you're going to send another email with a similar subject line to the winning one, and you're going to have the same body because people aren't going to necessarily catch that first one. So sometimes you don't see that first email. So you actually switch the subject line, and then you send that email to the people that didn't respond. So the average person doesn't go to inbox 0 at the end of the day. The average person has 25,000 unread emails in their inbox because they subscribe to everything. So if they didn't see your email, like within an hour of you seeing it, they're already on page 2 of their emails, and they may not look at that for weeks. That's normal behavior, consumer behavior. Business owners, you guys probably get to inbox 0 throughout the day or at the end of the day. That's not normal consumer behavior. Go check your family's email. I promise you there's 25,000 emails in the inbox. So page 2 is where you go after a couple hours.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to retention. Is there anything else that you guys feel contributed heavily to you guys improving your retention?
We have a few strategies that we've put in place. What Jade's really good at, she has a background in events. So
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do?
So what we do is we host community events. We do it almost every quarter, sometimes every other month. Just so even depending on, how our community is feeling, if they feel out of touch and they need some outlet to connect with one another. So most recently, in the beginning of March, we did like International Women's Day event, and it was like really small. There was about 20 people that showed up, which was amazing. It was right after a class. It was like in the middle of a Saturday morning. We just really got together. We ate, we sat around, and from there, we actually gained a member. Just from that interaction, which was really cool.
Which was really meant for retention. It was a retention play, but it ended up getting you a sale as well.
Yes.
That's really cool. So I didn't know that about you. So when we talked a few weeks ago about the bullying, the anti-bullying stuff, did your wheels turn during that at all? Yeah, because that would be really good. I used for those of you that don't know, I actually ran a martial arts school with my uncle for a while. We did a lot of anti-bullying, and we were niche for like, women's rape prevention program or women's self-defense program, bullying, all that stuff. So, yeah, that's really cool. I'm interested in seeing how those continue to go.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Okay, what else have you guys done for retention? Anything else?
Yeah, so we kickstart everybody's membership with a half-hour nutrition consultation as well as a half-hour introduction boxing session. So, we put them on the right track with what to eat and as well as show them some fundamentals for boxing. Another thing that we do is we sit down with them and based off of their goals, their wants, and their needs, we tie that into our workout schedule. So based off of all of the classes that we have, we marry that with what they're trying to accomplish.
I love that.
So that's like on the onboarding side. Another thing that we started doing recently was we started to gamify things just a little bit. So we integrated something what we call bag tag systems. We were thinking the thought process behind this was hats. Not everybody wears hats. T-shirts you can only wear once. Keys, keychains, it's in your pocket. And not everybody's gonna like have their thermos or bottle with them, right? So we went down the route of bag tags, and bag tags, everybody brings a gym bag. It's visible, you can see it, and each bag tag has a specific color. For us, it's clear, white, black, gold, and like an art we have in the gym. And each one is a different tier system, and each tier system gives you merchandise, whether it's like t-shirt, hat, hand wraps, glove deodorizers. The higher tiers will get a personal training session, nutrition consultation, in-body check-ins.
So the first one that you had just told me about, which was the nutritional console and everything like that. So if you ever read the book Never Lose a Customer Again, have you guys ever read that?
It's on our queue.
By Joey Colvin?
Yeah.
So that's one of his principles is like instant value, like an instant injection of value. And so by you guys doing that right away in the beginning, they just got an instant injection of value right away, unexpected value, because they thought they were just joining a workout, right? The next one that you did with the bag tags gamification, that is well known to retain people for a long, long time. And places like Starbucks do gamification with their rewards and all that. It's hard to go to another coffee shop when you've got rewards and you're gathering points and you don't want to play at a second and a third place because it dilutes your rewards, right? So for you guys, you're actually using gamification your way, and I'm sure the other members see the colors, right? So they know who's who and where's. Yeah. Which, by the way, you're going to see what we do at GSD Con in sales. It's leveraging some of that. So I'm excited for you guys to check that out. So all of your ideas went to that one idea, and that's the idea of a main focus. So the reason a lot of gyms and fitness studios and businesses in general fail is because whenever they hear an idea, whether it's retention or increased pricing or selling, marketing, whatever, they inject that idea. There's no focus. Everyone's all over the place. You guys were able to just get laser focused, and you still had as many ideas as you normally would have had, but they were all in the same compartment, which allowed you to get a 5x increase in that one area as opposed to just staying plateaued, right, for a while. Okay, so what else did you do?
The next one's a topic that Jay's going to touch on, which is the ambassadors.
Yes. So what's really cool with the ambassadors is members who have been with us for at least 6 months to even a year. There are diehard crown boxing people. They will literally eat, breathe crown boxing, which is phenomenal. And what we'll do is we'll notice when one of them is in the class and then there's a new person in the class, they already know right away to go talk to that new person. And not just that, but they'll, bring them in. They'll have them right next to them at their bag. And they'll just talk to them throughout the class too. And just if they have any questions, they'll show them. And even the coach too will introduce them, not the first timer is what we call them. Not just to the ambassador, but also everyone in the studio too. And then from there, the ambassador is just, checking on them, making sure they're okay. And then towards the end of the class, everyone, says goodbye to them. And then before we can even talk to the first timer, the ambassador also then talks to them too. So we have a hand select few ambassadors within our studio too, which is really cool. And they know who they are. and they really help us sell our first timers. And we've gotten a good amount of members out of that too, which is great.
Where did you come up with that?
Honestly, it was actually one of our members who kind of brought it up to us. They're like, oh, we should be an ambassador. But we also saw it from afar too, just the community that we have and everyone just being so friendly and welcoming, that they were able to kind of just like talk to them and bring them along the way.
Yeah.
And it made them feel at home and it made them feel very comfortable, especially in an intimidating sport.
You are going to feel so validated reading the book Never Lose a Customer Again, because that is one of their things as well. And it's funny, Marjan studied that book well enough to where she could probably give a presentation on it. She won't because she doesn't like giving presentations. That's not her strength, or that's not her joy, right? Somewhere she gets energy, but she talks to me about all these things. She could teach it. And she actually pitched us to do that idea of where like we create an ambassador group and they're the ones that'll reach out to new members. And my concern was, more minutes. That's one of our things. And I don't want to take members' time. So we're going back and forth on it and seeing if that's something we include. But I just got to make sure it doesn't like exhaust our members. I want to keep them freed up. But in your case, I mean, you have so many members and it's consumers, they're not business owners. So I feel like that would be, and they're already in the class, right? So maybe we do it like at a GSD con where we pair them up at GSD con. That'd be actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Good ideas. Okay. All right. So you said you had two more things. That was a great one. I love that one. What else?
This one's more on the back end of things. So we actually learned this in the GSD con that we attended. We were speaking to Laurel actually, and she spoke with us. We spoke with her because she had like 2% attrition or something like that, right?
Is this at the happy hour?
Yes.
I remember. I told her to go talk to you guys.
So you thank you for bridging that connection. Yeah. So when we spoke with her, she said that one of the things that she does is personality tests. Now, personality tests might be like, wait, what? Personality tests? So we started doing that, looking for staff and team members. Now, staff and team members are going to be the ones that are interacting with our members. So, going based off of the last GSD con about leadership, putting right people in right places, we had to put the right people in the right places to be in front of our members.
Right.
So we started putting them through personality tests, and we needed a specific type of person to be in front of our members to create like a welcoming environment, but also still be very professional.
Yeah. I love that. So now you got the right people in the right seats doing the right things right. And by the way, when they say Laurel, that's my business partner for our gyms, by the way. And she's great. So I'm glad you guys got a chance to chat with her. And she's huge she uses Culture Index. That's what she uses. She's huge on it. And so now you're just making sure that, hey, look, these guys got to feel super welcomed and they've got to keep feeling that way. So if we're going to put people on the front line, it's not because they're good at boxing. It's not because they're really knowledgeable in fitness. It's because that personality type does the job to be done, right? That's really cool. I like that. You guys have done a lot of stuff in like 3 months. You've been busy, but how confident do you feel now going into the next focus?
Well,
Very confident.
Like imagine if you can get 5x return on that side too.
Yeah.
Right? Now, don't get so crazy, right? You may not get 5x, right? Because I think you were being at 20%, that was so high at 20% attrition that getting it to 4%, that was a bigger gap of opportunity. You guys are already getting about 30 members. So getting 150 a month, just that might be a little different. But if we can get that to 50, 70 members a month, that's a big deal. And there's people in our program that you hear are getting 50, 60, 70. I think Sam Tooley, they just posted today in the Wins channel, he got, I think, 50 new members last month, right? And then Edwin Lopez, you guys know Edwin. I think they get like 70 to 90 some months. I think they've had a month where they've had 100 or a couple months where they've had 100 new members, like in one location. Yeah. And then I think it was Blended Athletics. They got like 70 or 80 in a month as well recently. I think they average like that 50 to 70 mark. So there's definitely people to connect with. So on the next power call that we have, we do these power calls every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On the next power call, just say, hey, we're looking to get more members. Who here already knows how to get 40 plus members a month, and then see who gets it. And then from there, just start talking to them. Jeremy and Luis do that too. I think they get average about 50 to 60. I'm interviewing them later today. Yeah. Cool. So a lot of And then so this way you meet with them, and then now you have a full list of all the different ideas, as opposed to getting the list of ideas and then meeting with people, and then you have to go back and add it to the list anyway. So now you got these different ideas, and then from there, look at your assets, right? Like you've got 2,000 people on that list, and then you might have an email that's bigger than that. How many people follow you on social?
2,000.
So we already know with 1,500, Jared got, what was it, 140 paid leads with like 60 paid members, right? Full price with a 1,500. So, and that plays in the portal as well. So there's just a lot of opportunities. You guys got to figure out like, hey, what are the best assets for us? Do that same deep thinking meeting and the same play that you did to like make sure we inject these new things, inject them into the get more members process. Cool. This is great. This is one of my favorite episodes. We got a lot covered. I feel like we helped a lot of people today. And if we didn't help them, they can't be helped. There's no hope for those guys. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. And for anybody watching, listening right now, like if you had to give them one or two takeaways, like how they can just really, what's the simplest way they can just get better retention right away? What would you say?
I think the first thing that I would say is start asking more questions. And then once you're able to ask more questions, start applying that knowledge into whatever it is you need to get fixed.
I love that. Yeah, they say you judge a man by the questions he asks, not by the things that he says, right? What would you say, Jade? You're helping someone's like, I'm at 20%. What do I do?
I would say connection, like build a connection with your members, because that's really where it starts. They're there for a reason. Whether it's community, whether they want to get in shape, whatever it may be, just connect with them. Because that way, too, then you'll figure out, too, what may need to be fixed.
I love it. So do you think we're going to get the opportunity to interview you on your master success on getting new members here in a few months?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys stick around, stay tuned, because you know these guys know how to get shit done, which is why you're on the GSD show. I appreciate you coming in, flying in all the way from LA. You guys are the best. Hope you enjoy Arizona for the day. And for everybody watching, listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.